the academic background of Dr. Jose Rizal. But first, let me introduce to you my name. So by the way, I'm Jonalyn Sardido. I am a first-year irregular student from Bulitoc, Santa Cruz, Zambales. So let's start. Education at Binan, Laguna. In June of 1869, Pasiano Rizal's brother accompanied him to Binan to continue his studies. They proceeded to their aunt's home where Jose will stay. So sabi dito, nung June 1869, si Pasiano, sinamahan niya si Rizal sa Binan para ipagpatuloy ang kanyang pag-aaral. Si Jose Rizal ay nanuluyan sa bahay ng kanyang aunts o tiya. The next day, Monday, Pasiano brought Rizal to the school of Maestro Stiniano Aquino Cruz, his older brother's former teacher. The school, which was made of nipa, doubled as the house of the maestro. At once, Jose Rizal was assigned a seat and was asked and replied at once, "Do you know Spanish?" Ang sagot ni Rizal is, "A little, sir." "Do you know Latin?" Sumagot ulit siya ng, "A little, sir." The boys in the class, especially Pedro, the teacher's sons, laughed at Jose's answer. The teacher sharply stopped all noises and began the lessons of the day. So, dito sa part na to, si Rizal daw ay dinala siya ni Pasiano doon sa dati niyang school na ang former teacher ni Pasiano ay si Maestro Justiniano Aquino Cruz. So, nung sa class nila, si Rizal dito ay tinanong siya ng kanyang guro kung alam niya ba ang Spanish and kung marunong ba siya ng Latin. Ang sagot dito ni Rizal, medyo. So, yung mga classmates niya is tinawanan siya. Maestro Stiniano Aquino Cruz was a disciplinarian. He was a tall man, lean and long-necked, with a sharp nose and a body slightly bent forward. He used to wear sinamay shirt woven by the deft hands of Batangas woven. So, si Maestro Stiniano Aquino Cruz, mahilig siyang magsuot ng sinamay. O, yung sinamay is, Philippine Shipley from Abaca. In the afternoon of this day in school, when the teacher was having his siesta, Jose met the bully Pedro. He was angry for making fun of him during his conversation with the teacher in the morning. Jose challenged Pedro to a fight. The latter readily accepted, thinking that they could easily beat the Kalamba boy who was smaller and younger. So, nung afternoon na daw na yon, nung mga panahon na, nung mga oras na natutulog o nagpapahinga yung teacher nila, nakita ni Jose yung classmate niya na bully na si Pedro. Si Rizal is nagalit because nung tinawanan nga siya, nung sumagot siya about doon kung marunong ba siyang mag-Latin or kung alam niya ba yung Spanish. Jose challenged Pedro to a fight. So, si Jose Rizal, niyaya niya si Pedro na magkaroon ng isang laban kung saan si Pedro naman ay pumayag. The two boys wrestled furiously in the classroom, much to the glee of their classmates. Jose, having learned the art of wrestling from his athletic Tito Manuel, defeated the bigger boy. So, nung nag-fight sila, ginamit dun ni Jose Rizal yung pagiging wrestler niya na natutunan niya sa kanyang Tito Manuel. Because of this, became popular among his classmates. Dahil nga natalo niya si Pedro nung nag-fight sila, naging popular si Jose Rizal sa kanilang classroom. So, after the class in the afternoon, a classmate named Andres Salandanan challenged him to an arm wrestling match. So, nung afternoon naman daw, yung classmate niya na si Andres Salandanan, challenge siya ngayon sa arm wrestling o yung tinatawag natin na sa Tagalog na yung sanggol, yung nagsasanggol yung kamay. They went to a sidewalk of a house and rested with their arms. Jose, having the weaker arm, lost and nearly cracked his head on the sidewalk. So, si Jose Rizal kasi meron siyang weaker arm o mahinang kamay siguro pag ganun. In succeeding days, he had other fights with the boys of Binan. He was not quarrelsome by nature, but he never ran away from a fight. So, sa mga sumunod na araw, si Jose Rizal nagkaroon pa man ng iba pang mga laban o mga fight sa mga boys ng Binan. But si Jose Rizal kasi, siya yung tipo ng tao na kapag may nag-aya sa kanya ng laban, go lang siya, kumbaga hindi niya to tinatakbuhan, hindi siya nagpapatalo. So, Jose Rizal spent his leisure hours with teacher Justiniano's father-in-law, a master painter named Juanco. He took the opportunity to become an apprentice together with his classmate Jose Guevara. Sooner they become the class best painters. So, si Jose Rizal, yung mga oras niya na bakante siya, ginagamit niya yon para mag-aral ng painting sa father-in-law ni Justiniano or teacher Justiniano na si Juanco. So, he took the opportunity to become apprentice together. So, ginamit niya yung leisure na yon, napahinga niya ng oras upang mag-aral ng painting nang sa ganon, mas maging magaling pa siya. At bandang huli, naging best painter sila ng kanyang kaklase na si Jose Guevara. Jose Rizal led a frugal and methodological life in Binan. His time was well budgeted from 4 o'clock in the morning, such as hearing mass, eating time, and other boys when were and methodological life in Binan. His time as well budgeted from 4 o'clock in the morning, such as hearing mass, eating time, studies, and leisure time. At times he played in the street with her friends and other boys at Binan. He concentrated on his studies diligently and he excelled in Spanish and Latin and all subjects. So, si Rizal kasi, siya yung tipo ng estudyante na kapag nag-aaral lang siya, is aral lang. And then, yung oras niya kasi dito is naka-time management, such as hearing mass, eating time, studies, and leisure time. At times, he played in the street with her friends and other boys at Binan. He concentrated on his studies diligently and he excelled in Spanish and Latin and all subjects. So, si Rizal kasi, siya yung tipo ng estudyante na kapag nag-aaral lang siya, is aral lang. And then, yung oras niya kasi dito is naka-time management. So, having finished his studies in Binan, Rizal returned to on board the motorboat. So, motorboat, other term niya is talim. His parents plan to transfer him to Manila to continue his studies. So, si Rizal, nakapag-decide yung parents niya na sila Theodora na bumalik ulit siya sa Manila para doon ulit i-continue yung kanyang pag-aaral. So, ito na nga. Education at the Ateneo de Manila. On June 10, 1872, Pasiano accompanied Rizal to take entrance examination at the Colegio of San Juan de Letran and pass it. So, si Rizal, noong June 10, 1872, bumalik siya ng Manila and then nag-take siya ng exam sa College of San Juan de Letran na kung saan ito ay kanyang naipasa. They returned to Calamba to stay for a few days with the family and to attend the town fiesta. Don Francisco changed his mind and decided to send Rizal to Ateneo de Manila. So, yung family kasi ni Rizal is umuwi ulit ng Calamba para umattend ng town fiesta. Pero si Don Francisco naman is nagbago yung isip niya na si Rizal isend siya o idalahin ulit siya sa Ateneo Municipal. Pasiano accompanied Rizal to Manila to enroll at the Ateneo Municipal. Father Magin Fernando, the school registrar, refused to admit him for the same reason. So, si Father Magin Fernando, isang school registrar, tinanggihan niyang ipasok si Rizal doon sa Ateneo dahil ito sa mga rason. Number 1, he was late for registration and he was sickly and small for his age. So, si Rizal, tinanggihan siya sa Ateneo dahil late enrollee siya at saka yung height niya is mababa kung ibabase sa edad niya. Basihan. With the intercession of Ferris Burgos, a nephew of Father Burgos, he was admitted to the Ateneo that was located in Intramuros within the walls of Manila. So, sabi dito, si Ferris Burgos, na anak ni Father Burgos, admitted Rizal to Ateneo located sa Intramuros, Manila. Rizal was just quiet and observant of the different activities in the class. At the Carthaginian Empire, the other group was the Roman Empire, consisting of the internos or borders. Each group had its ranks. The best rank is the emperor, the second best was tribune, the third is the decurion, fourth, the centurion, and the fifth is the standard bearer. Within the empire, the students aspired for the position by answering the questions for the day's lesson. Any student may be at the end of the line, but if he studies hard and was brilliant, he could become an emperor. So, yung emperor, ayun yung may pinaka-highest rank sa kanila. The two groups, Roman Empire and the Carthaginian Empire, were constant competition for supremacy in the class. So, ang pinag-aanuhan nila dito ng rank sa school nila is yung Carthaginian and the Roman Empire, na kung saan ang tinatawag nilang emperor, yun yung may pinaka-highest rank sa kanila. Jose Rizal progressed well in his studies that after a month he became the emperor and was considered the brightest pupil of the class. He was awarded a prize, namely a religious picture, which he was so proud of because it was the first prize he ever received at Ateneo. So, after a month daw ng kanyang pag-aaral sa Ateneo, si Rizal ay nakatanggap ng isang award kung saan siya ay naging emperor or was considered the brightest pupil in the class. So, ginawaran siya ng award na pinangalan ng a religious picture. He spent his leisure hours by taking private lessons to improve his Spanish at Santa Isabela College. At the Santa Isabel College. He paid 3 pesos for the Spanish lesson. So, si Jose Rizal, yung mga leisure hours niya o yung mga pahinga niyang oras or bakanting oras niya is ginagamit niya yon upang mag-aral sa Santa Isabel College ng Spanish nang sa ganon ma-improve niya ito. At the end of the school year, on March 1873, he returned to Calamba for the summer vacation. So, si Jose Rizal, noong March 1873, umuwi siya sa Calamba upang doon nga mag-summer vacation. He did not enjoy his vacation because his mother was in prison at Santa Cruz. Doña Chidora was arrested on a malicious charge that she and her brother Jose Alberto tried to poison the latter's wife. Doña Chidora was forced to walk from Calamba all the way to Santa Cruz, a distance of 50 kilometers. She was imprisoned for 2.5 years. So, si Doña Chidora is na-prison siya o nakulong siya dahil di umano sa pag-poison sa latter's wife ni Jose Alberto. Tapos, pinaglakad siya mula sa Calamba hanggang Santa Cruz na may distansya o lumalayong ng 50 kilometers. In his second year in Ateneo, 1873 to 1874, nothing unusual happened to Rizal. Tapos, pinaglakad siya mula sa Calamba hanggang Santa Cruz na may distansya o lumalayong ng 50 kilometers. In his second year in Ateneo, 1873 to 1874, nothing unusual happened to Rizal. Once again, he received excellent grades in all subjects and a gold medal. O si Rizal daw nagkaroon siya ulit ng bagong award at gintong medalya dahil sa siya ay diligent student and a voracious reader. Rizal kept reading fiction, non-fiction, and novel like The Count of Monte Cristo by Alejandro Dumas. His imagination was stirred by the sufferings of Edmond Dantes, the hero, his escape from the dungeon of Chateau d'If, and his finding a buried treasure on the rocky island of Monte Cristo, and his revenge on the enemies who had offended him. Rizal also read Travels in the Philippines, written by Dr. Fedor Hagor, a German scientist traveler who visited the Philippines in 1859 to 1860. So, si Rizal, mahilig siyang magbasa ng mga book, at saka binasa niya din yung Travel in the Philippines that written by Dr. Theodore Hagor. The book consisted of the keen observations of the defects of Spanish colonization and the prophecy that someday Spain would lose the Philippines and that America would come to succeed her as a colonizer. Through his readings, he discovered the wisdom of books and its influences on search of knowledge. So, yung book na Travels in the Philippines, consisted siya ng keen observation of the defects of Spanish colonization. Tapos ito, another book that his father bought was The Universal History by Cesar Cantus, which was a rich source of historical facts about the world. He used to read this while studying in Ateneo. So, si Rizal, binilhan ulit siya ng kanyang tatay ng isa pang book na Universal History by Cesar Cantus, which was a search source for historical facts. On his fourth year in Ateneo, Jose Rizal was inspired to study hard and to write poetry by one of his professors, Father Francisco de Paula Sanchez, a great educator and scholar. Rizal had the highest affection and respect for Father Sanchez, whom he considered his best professor in Ateneo. So, si Father Francisco de Paula Sanchez, siya yung tinuturing na best professor ni Rizal sa Ateneo. Rizal's formal lessons at the Ateneo gradually gained him proficiency both in the art of rhetoric and in the art of independent thinking. So, si Rizal, nagkaroon siya ng formal lessons sa Ateneo that gradually gained him proficiency both sa art of rhetoric at saka sa art of independent thinking. He expressed his ideas on the value of education in his poem, Through Education, the Country Receives Light, or tinatawag na Por la education, recibe lustre la patria. He stressed that responsible education instills the youth noble ideas and sublime virtues. Learning influences truth, and discipline brings peace, glory, and tranquility to the nation. So, sabi dito, yung si Rizal, he expressed his ideas on the value of education in his poem. So, yung poem na yon is pinamagatang Through Education, the Country Receives Light. O, siguro sa salitang Espanyol ata ito na Por la Education, Recibe Lustre la Patria. Por la Education, Recibe Lustre la Patria ay nailimbag noong April 1, 1876. This poem shows Rizal's high regard for education. He strongly believed in the important role of which education plays in the development and the progress of education. So, yung aklat na yon o yung poem na yon na naglalayon na ipaalam na yung edukasyon daw plays the development or plays the important progress of the nation. So, ito yung poem. Babasahin ko. Wise education, vital spirit, entails an enchanting virtue. She elevates the country to the lofty seat of immortal dazzling glory, and as the gently puff of the fresh breeze again turns green hue of fragrant flower, thus education with learned hand beneficently exalts the human being. For her, the mortal sacrifices his existence and placid repose. For her born are seen art and science, that crowd the human with beautiful laurels, and as from the eminence of the lofty mountain springs pure torrent of the wavy river, thus education without measures gives to the country where peace securely dwells, where wise education rises a throne, vigorous youth robustly grows, that subdues error with firm resolve, and with noble ideas exalts itself. The cervix of vice she breaks, black crime before her pales, barbarous nation she tames, and the end of savages champions she makes. In sapphires may her deeds be carved, let the country 1,000 honors pay her, for in her science noble breeze, virtue transplanted vigorous flowers, and in the love of God, ever strong, rules and masters shall see. The people noble who with faithful happiness ever seek Christian education, and like the golden morning sun sheds resplendent rays of gold, and like the beautiful golden and scarlet dawn, scatters its refulgent colors, thus noble instruction surely offers the virtue of pleasure to the living, and to beloved illustrator's country, immortal and splendor and luster of the offers. So, there was the other poems. Yun pa siyang ginawa ulit na isang poems na pinamagatan naman na to make full of use God-given talents in poetry to open his mind to the rich influence of the world's literature. So, in 1876, Rizal wrote poems on various topics, religions, education, childhood, memories, and war. They were as follows. So, ito yung mga yon. So, number 1, Recuerdo a mi pueblo o In Memory of My Town. Yung poem na yon is a tender poem in honor of Calamba, the hero's natal town. So, yung number 2 naman is Alianza Intima entre la Religion y la Buena Education. So, yung tinatawag na intimate alliance between religion and good education. So, yung number 3 naman is Por la Education Recibe Lustre la Patria. So, ito yung through education, the country receives light. And the number 4, Ed Quateverio y el Triunfo, Batalla de Lucena y de Prison, de Boabdil, or the captivity and the triumph, Battle of Lucena in the imprisonment of a Boabdil. So, yung poem na yun is describe the defeat and the capture of Boabdil, the last Moorish Sultan of Granada. And then number 5, La Entrada Triunfal de los Reyes Catolices en Granada. So, the triumphal entry of the Catholic monarchs in Granada. Sabi dito, this poem relates the victorious entry of the King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel into Granada, last Moorish stronghold in Spain. So, a year later, in 1877, he wrote more poems. So, si Rizal daw, gumawa siya pa ng ibang maraming poem noong 1877. It was his last year in Ateneo. So, yung year na 1877 na yun din yung last year niya sa Ateneo. Number 1 na ginawa niya ulit na poems noon is number 1, El Heroismo de Colon, The Heroism of Columbus. Yung poem na yun daw is, this poem praises Columbus, the discoverer of America. Yung number 2 is Colon E. Juan II o Columbus and John II. This poem related naman sa how King John II of Portugal missed fame and the riches by this failure to finance the projected expedition of Columbus to the New World. Yun daw nga yun. So, ito yung number 3. Gran Consuelo en la Mayor Desdicha or Great Solace in Great Misfortune. Yung poem na yun is, this is a legend in verse of the tragic life of Columbus. So, number 4. Angelago alusivo a la despedida de los colegiales. So, a farewell dialogue of the students. This war was the last poem written by Rizal. Ito yung last poem na ginawa ni Rizal nung nasa Ateneo pa siya. It is the poignant poem of farewell to his classmates. So, itong last poem na ito yung ginawa niyang poem na dahil nga last year na sa Ateneo, yun yung sinulat niya para farewell sa mga classmates niya.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmate. Today is my topic is all about last year of Rizal at Ateneo, 1876 to 1877. He excelled in all subjects and won 5 medals at the end of school term. Si Rizal ay lahat ng kanyang subject ay excellent. At siya nakuha ng 5 medalya at the end of school term. He proudly offered all his excellent rating and medals to his parent. Buo niyang pinagmamalaki sa kanyang magulang ang mga nakuha niyang medalya. And way to repay them for their sacrifices and love was considered. Sa kanyang kabayaran sa kanyang mga magulang para sa kanyang pagsasakripisyo para sa kanya ay ang kanyang kabayaran ay mag-aral siyang mabuti. Doon niya sinusuklian. The most brilliant Athenian of his time, he was the pride of Jesuit. His scholastic record at the Ateneo from 1872 to 1877. At from 1872 to 1873 at ang kanyang subject ay arithmetic, Greek 1, Latin 1, Spanish 1. At ang rating niya ay lahat ay excellent. Ganon din sa 1873 to 1874, subject, Greek 2, Latin 2, Spanish 2, Universal Geography, at ang rating niya ay lahat ay excellent. Ganon din sa 1874 to 1875, subject, arithmetic and algebra, Greek 3, History of Spain and the Philippines, Latin 3, Spanish 3, Universal History, at ang rating lahat ay excellent. Sa 1875 naman to 1876 is subject, French 1, Geometry and Trigonometry, Rhetoric and Poetry. Rating is lahat ay excellent. 1876 to 1877, subject, Botany, Zoology, and Mineralogy, and Chemistry and Philosophy 1. At lahat ay rating is excellent. Dito naman tayo sa next is Rizal Studies at the University of Santo Tomas, 1872 to 1882. For higher studies after graduation from Ateneo, he pursued his study at the University of Santo Tomas. The Bachelor of Arts course during the Spanish time was equivalent only to high school and junior college course today. Sabi dito, next is studies at the University of Santo Tomas. After he attended Ateneo, decided to study at UST for the higher studies by taking up Bachelor of Arts as his course. And His mother, Doña Teodora, was opposed to his parents pursuing higher education in Manila because she was reminded of the fate of intelligent Filipinos like the priest Gomburza. Sabi dito, hindi payag ang kanyang ina na mag-aral si Rizal sa Manila. Sapagkat sa kadahilan na natatakot siya sa pwedeng mangyari tulad na lang ng naging kapalaran ng priest Gomburza. But unlike his mother ang higit na mahalaga lamang sa kanyang ama ay ang pagkakaroon ni Rizal ng magandang kinabukasan. And Don Francisco believed of the great future that awaited his son, whose intelligence was among the best during that time. And during his first year at UST, he studied simultaneously at Ateneo, taking up vocational course leading to the title Perito Agrimensor, expert surveyor with grades at excellent, but was not given that the title. He was still 17 years old. In the last paragraph, he finally decided to take up medicine when the advice of Father Pablo Ramon, the director of Ateneo de Manila, with the intention and desire to cure Doña Teodora failing eyesight. Sabi dito, at the medicine, ang naging kurso ni Rizal hindi lang dahil sa advice ni Father Pablo Roman, kundi dahil gusto rin niyang mapagaling ang kanyang ina sa failing her eyesight. At dito po nagtatapos ang aking report. Thank you.
Rizal experience of Spanish brutality. When Rizal was a freshman medical student at the University of Santo Tomas, he got his first taste of Spanish brutality. One dark night in Calamba, during his summer vacation in 1880, he was walking in the street. He dimly perceived the figure of a man while passing him. Not knowing the person due to darkness, he did not salute or say a courteous good evening. The baggy figure was a lieutenant of the Guardia Civil. With a snarl, he turned upon Rizal, wiped out a sword, and brutality slashed the latter on the back. The wound was not serious, but it was painful. When he recovered, Rizal reported the incident to General Primo de Rivera, the Spanish Governor General of the Philippines at that time. But nothing came out of his complaint because he was an Indio and the abusive lieutenant was a Spaniard. In a letter of Blumentritt dated March 21, 1887, he related, "I went to the Captain General but I could not obtain any justice. My wound lasts 2 weeks." Rizal artistic work. Number 1. Title: Saturnina Rizal. Material: oil. Remarks: now in Rizal Shrine of Port Santiago. Number 2. Title: Dapitan Church Curtains. Material: oil. Remarks: made in Dapitan, 1894. Number 3. Title: Spanish coat of arms. Material: watercolor. Remarks: done during a fiesta of San Rafael in Calamba in 1867. Number 4. Title: a painting on a pair of a mother of pearl. Material: oil. Remarks: shells painted by Rizal in Dapitan and given as a gift to Doña Leonor Valenzuela and later passed into the hands of Doña Margarita Valenzuela. Number 5. Title: Christ Crucified. Material: crayon. Remarks: 1875. Number 6. Title: Allegory on a pair of porcelain vases of the New Year celebration. Material: oil. Remarks: made in Berlin in 1886. Number 7. Title: Immaculate Conception. Material: crayon. Remarks: made in Manila, 1974. Number 8. Title: Portrait of Moraita. Material: crayon. Remarks: Made in Barcelona, 1885.
To the Filipino a la Juventud Filipina Other. A la Juventud Filipina meaning to the Philippine youth is poem written in Spanish by Filipino writer and patriot Jose Rizal, first presented in 1879 in Manila, while he was studying at the University of Santo Tomas. La Juventud Filipina was written by Rizal when he was only 18 years old, and he was dedicated to the Filipino youth, while he described as the fear hope of my motherland. Other literary work of Rizal. This literary piece gives an insight into the romantic relationship of Rizal and his beloved Leonor Rivera. To the young woman of Malolos, addressed to the Filipino woman, Rizal's letter entitled To the Young Woman of Malolos reflects his inheritance and issues reminders to Filipino woman. Kundiman. A kundiman traditionally refers to a love song where a man serenades the woman he loved. But in Rizal's literary work, he wrote a kundiman to profess his intense love for this motherland. No Limitangere. One of the most sought after book in Philippine literature until today is Rizal's famous novel titled No Limitangere. It means touch me not. Driven by his undying love for this country, Rizal wrote the novel of expose the Philippine society during the Spanish Junto al Pasig. When translated into English, the title of this work means Beside Pasig River. In response to the Jesuit request, Rizal wrote this one-act play of the Spanish language of the Bilada, a gala barriete program during the principal feast days. El Filibusterismo. This is Rizal's sequel to his first book, No Limitangere. In El Filibusterismo, the reign of the greed, the novel of exhibits a dark them, as opposed to the hopeful atmosphere in the first novel, in which it depicts the country issue and how the protagonist attempt a reform. Mi ultimo adios. After being associated with the Katipuneros, Rizal was arrested and later sentenced to death by firing squad for act of sedition of rebellion.